Apologies if this video is super low quality. I'm literally recording it in my hallway because all of my stuff has been packed up and it's all ready to go to the new house that I'm going to be moving into at the end of the week. So for now, I'm recording with my laptop, my webcam, and my inbuilt laptop microphone. Apologies for the low audio quality, all this and that. But yeah, let's get into it. I'm really looking forward to this card, to be honest. Probably looking forward to it a lot more than most people because I did follow Road to UFC quite extensively. I think I made videos even predicting who was going to be on the show. I made videos when it was announced who was going to be on the show. I made my predictions throughout the events as well, which weren't too hot, I'm going to be honest. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And also, a note that a lot of people haven't been bringing up is I believe, to my knowledge, the winner and the loser of these Road to UFC finals will be getting a UFC contract. So even if somebody loses in this final, because they've already won two fights to get to this point, they're still getting signed anyway. And obviously, the winner gets a contract too. The loser is going to get a pretty good contract to my knowledge, and the winner's going to get an even better contract. So I guess that's cool stuff. Just so you know, so if you like a guy and they lose, you're still going to see them in the UFC anyway. So Tatsuro Taira versus Jesus Aguilar to start off the card. I've got Taira in this one here. I do have him by submission, but I think it's a closer fight than the odds are suggesting because Jesus Aguilar's a very fun fighter. I feel like this is a guy that I could definitely see maybe being a fan favorite at some point because of his striking style and just the style in general. He's super aggressive. He's kind of funny to watch as well because he does look like a Jesus, a mini Jesus, and he's 5'4". I swear he's got to be shorter than that. Um, but he's just a fun fighter to watch, man. You understand what I mean? Maybe not in this fight, but definitely in his Dana White's Contender Series fight, he was very entertaining to watch. He's so small, so he's got to be aggressive. He strikes in close. He goes for takedowns and stuff like that. But I just don't see it working against Tatsuro Taira. I think Tatsuro Taira on the feet is going to be able to use his range and use his length with his reach advantage and height advantage here and pick apart Jesus Aguilar. And if he wanted to, he could out wrestle and out grapple with Jesus Aguilar. He's just got to watch out for those guillotines because 4 of 8 wins of Aguilar's wins are by guillotine, but I've got to go with Tatsuro Taira here. He's a very proven prospect. He's 12-0, undefeated as an amateur as well, 2-0 in the UFC already as well, and I think that Tatsuro Taira is only 23, so why rush him right now? Let's give him time to build, and I think that he could be a big star for Japan in the future, which is what I think they're trying to do with this fight and just with Tatsuro Taira in general. The next one is Jeong Yeoung Park versus Denis Tiuliulin. If you guys didn't know, I'm a big fan of Denis Tiuliulin, mainly because he stepped up on super short notice against Aliaskhab Khizriev. I think Aliaskhab Khizriev had like 3 cancelled opponents on that fight night date, and they called up Denis Tiuliulin, a 10-5 at the time, the fighter who took the fight on very short notice, and honestly, in my opinion, didn't make that bad of an account for himself. He defended a lot of grappling moments in the first rounds and did end up getting finished in the second, but I thought that he showed up and looked pretty good, and he did win his next fight against Pickett, which I did predict. But I do think Jeong Yeoung Park here is just a much better wrestler and grappler than Tiuliulin in this one here. Although he does have really good defensive wrestling and grappling as Tiuliulin, I think that I can still see Jeong Yeoung Park overpowering him, and even the striking as well. Tiuliulin's a good striker, but Park can hold his own, and I think he's going to be able to use his wrestling and grappling over Tiuliulin to win a decision. I don't see Park getting a finish over Denis. I know he just went out there and looked really good against Joseph Holmes, but I just don't see him finishing Denis Tiuliulin. So I'm going to be going Jeong Yeoung Park by decision in this matchup here. Jeon Kim versus Mandy Bohm. I feel like you've kind of just got to go with Jeon Kim. Is she a bigger favourite than she should be? Yeah, minus 265 for someone that's 1-5 in their last 6 is a little bit scary, but Mandy Bohm has come into the UFC 7-0 and she's just looked really unimpressive. She's on a 2-fight losing streak now. Looked really bad against Ariane Lipski in my opinion, which is why I picked her to lose against Victoria Leonardo. And even then, she didn't really look like she made any improvements. Whereas Jeon Kim, I know she's on a really bad skid right now, but she's throwing a lot of volume, and she's also losing fights that I think that she should be winning. At times, especially the Priscilla Cachoeira fight. She's got very good striking. She throws a lot of volume, as I said. She lands quite a bit, but she does miss a bit as well. But she does land with power when she does, and I think she's going to win by decision against Mandy Bohm here by landing the strikes. More strikes and just being better at striking. Mandy Bohm is a weird fighter, and I don't even know how to describe her style. You've just got to watch the Ariane Lipski fight, and then you'll kind of understand what I mean when I say she's got a weird style. I don't even know how to understand the way that she fights. It's very odd. She fights like someone that is a lot better than what she is. You know what I mean? I don't even know how to describe it. Hyun Park versus Seung Choi is the first Road to UFC final, and I've picked against Seung Choi all the way. I've picked him to lose against Rama Sapandi. He made me look like an idiot, and then I picked him to lose against Keelun because I thought Keelun was going to win the whole thing. Keelun was like a minus 700 favorite in his first Road to UFC fight, and Seung Choi just went out there and looked really good on the feet as well, and I think he's going to do the same to Hyun Park. Where Hyun Park is good, he's a decent grappler. You know, he won over Jeremiah Serghei, but Jeremiah Serghei was honestly, he looked really small for the division. And then he submitted Top Noi Karam, which is going to age pretty well. I think Top Noi Karam's a good fighter. But as for Seung Choi, man, sorry, as for Hyun Park, I saw him got dropped against Top Noi Karam, which isn't that bad of a thing because Karam's got power. But if you're getting tagged by Top Noi Karam, I think you're going to get tagged by Seung Choi. And Seung Choi is just a guy that's making rapid improvements in his career. You know, he took a little bit of time off, come into Road to UFC and looked so much better than he did against these opponents that weren't that great in the past. He's also a Korean Zombie protege. He's trained under Korean Zombie. He is making rapid improvements, as I said. I know Hyun Park's a pretty young guy himself too, but I'm very impressed by Seung Choi's striking. I think he's going to be able to keep the fight on the feet where he wants it and win by decision in that regard. So give me Seung Choi, who's only 9% picked on Topology, but I do think he's going to get it done. The next one is Rinya Nakamura versus Toshiomi Kazama. I feel like you've just got to go with Rinya Nakamura. I've been talking about Rinya Nakamura for a long time. I picked Rinya Nakamura to win the whole thing from the start, and I was very confident about it. And I'm not giving up now, man. I really do believe that Rinya Nakamura is going to win this whole tournament, and he's looked really good, dude. This guy is a multiple-time medalist in world championship level freestyle wrestling. He's got good striking as well. Like he showed off really good striking against Shohei Noze. And then he showed off really good wrestling and grappling against Gugan Guzman. And Toshiomi Kazama's a good guy at judo. He's got good grappling. I believe his last fight was cancelled. He was meant to fight someone else, and that fight was cancelled. So because I think his opponent missed weight and it's the tournament, so he just moves on. I got Rinya Nakamura here, man. I think he's the better grappler in the matchup. Maybe pure Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Kazama's better, but I think Rinya Nakamura is just going to keep the fight on the feet and knock him out. So give me Rinya Nakamura by KO in the first round in this matchup here. I think this guy Rinya Nakamura, dude, if they build up this guy properly, he is going to be a problem at bantamweight, dude. He's a really good fighter. I think maybe he's one of those Japanese stars that the UFC is looking for. Dana White said that he's really looking for a Japanese star on Dana White's Contender Series when Yusakau Kinoshita won. So maybe I think that they found it, man, with Rinya Nakamura. Zha Yi versus Jeoung Yeoung Lee. Speaking of stars, I think Jeoung Yeoung Lee could potentially be a superstar for South Korea. This guy is so impressive to me. He come out after fighting for like almost never fought for almost 3 years. Submitted Bin Z in the first round by submission. Bin Z was on Dana White's Contender Series in 2021, and I think he lost a split decision, which he should have won. And then he come out and knocked out Kai Lu in the first round, which is incredible. And Zha Yi's a good guy too. He's a good wrestler and he's a good grappler. He's kind of got that I don't know how to describe it. Is it the Chinese wrestling style or the Mongolian wrestling style? One of the two, sorry. But he does have good wrestling, he does have good grappling. But I think that Jeoung Yeoung Lee is just going to be more dangerous everywhere, especially on the feet. I think Jeoung Yeoung Lee's going to get a knockout in this one here, but it's going to be a fun fight. And it's a fight I'm really looking forward to. But give me Lee by KO in the first round. Maybe Zha Yi could do something with his grappling, but I just don't see him winning on the feet against Jeoung Yeoung Lee with his power, with his size, with his accuracy. Like Jeoung Yeoung Lee, we didn't see much of him. We saw about a minute of tape of him in 3 years, pretty much, but it's enough for me to think that this guy's really going to go on to do something. Anshul Jubli versus Jeka Saragih. I'm going with Anshul Jubli here. A lot of people picking Jeka Saragih because he's got mad KO power, because he's got good striking, but he does lack a little bit in the grappling. And although Anshul Jubli didn't grapple almost whatsoever against Kyung Pyo Kim in his Road to UFC fight, I think he's going to grapple against Jeka Saragih. If he doesn't, I'm going to look really stupid because Anshul Jubli, he is a pretty good striker to be fair, but he does get hit quite a bit, and I just don't want to see him get hit by Jeka Saragih, who really could knock him out. But I do think that Anshul Jubli is going to use his more superior wrestling and grappling in this matchup, which we haven't even seen in Road to UFC because his first fight was cancelled because his opponent was sick, I believe, and then he fought Kyung Pyo Kim, who's a good fighter. He won his Road to UFC fight in the first round. and he beat him by split decision in a mostly striking matchup. And Anshul Jubli's not even a striker. In my eyes, he's more of a grappler. So it'll be interesting to see if Anshul Jubli leans on that grappling a little bit more. I hope he does. And if he does, I think that he's going to get a submission in the third round over Jeka Saragih. But I really just hope that Anshul Jubli uses the grappling, man, because Serghei is so dangerous on the feet. I don't want to see Jubli playing around on the feet. So give me Anshul Jubli. One thing I will say though, I think that Anshul Jubli's got very high potential as well as a fighter. He's pretty unpolished now, but I feel like if you give this guy a massive gem, maybe a little bit of time, you can see Anshul Jubli making rapid improvements because he's got all the skill, like the fundamentals are there. I feel like it's just kind of spending more time training in MMA, this and that, and he could be a real problem, especially for India as well. We've had Indian fighters in the UFC in the past, but they haven't done too well. But Anshul Jubli coming in undefeated, I feel like they could definitely build him up as a pretty good prospect from there. So the next one is Yusakau Kinoshita versus Adam Fugitt. My laptop just is not loading the tab. Here we go. I'm picking Yusakau Kinoshita. He's pretty much undefeated. He should be undefeated. That one loss from DQ. He knocked out his opponent. He was unconscious on the ground, and then he ran over and started stomping him on the head. But because he was grabbing the cage while he was stomping him on the head to get a little bit more leverage, that's why he got DQ'd. So he didn't actually get DQ'd for defending takedowns or anything like that. Like I'm seeing a few people say, which isn't true. I feel like maybe they just didn't watch the video. It's actually out there. You can see it. It went somewhat viral after his Dana White's Contender Series fight. But yeah, he got DQ'd for grabbing onto the cage while stomping on someone's head. So yeah, it's pretty wild, dude. But yeah, for the most part, Yusakau Kinoshita, he's a technical fighter on the feet. He's a striker, but he's a little bit more of a brawler. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say he's like super technical. He likes to get in brawls. He likes to throw hooks. He's actually got very good boxing as well. Likes to time his boxing to get KOs. But I've got Yusakau by KO as well against Adam Fugitt. Adam Fugitt looks pretty good on short notice against Michael Morales, and he's got that really good win over Solomon Renfro as well, which is a very solid win because Solomon Renfro was on Dana White's Contender Series recently, I do believe. Solomon Renfro, great fighter in my opinion, that Adam Fugitt beat, which is very good, and he threw a lot of head kicks in that fight as well, which maybe could work against Kinoshita as he does seem to like to box a little bit more, and he does have the shorter reach, so he's going to have to close the distance, but I do think Kinoshita is going to close the distance and find a KO at some point in this fight. Yeah, just give me Kinoshita by KO. I like him. I like him his aggressiveness. I like his power. I like his technique. I like his accuracy. I think Kinoshita is a guy that potentially could go pretty far at 170 if you just give him the right matchups all the way up. Doo-Ho Choi versus Kyle Nelson is a fun fight. Kyle Nelson's last fight against Joe Herbert wasn't all that great. It wasn't really that good of a show for Kyle Nelson either. And I think that is maybe potentially a fight where UFC is expecting Doo-Ho Choi to win. I mean, Doo-Ho Choi just got inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame against Cub Swanson in that Fight of the Year. I think it was Fight of the Year, but that great fight 6 years ago. And he hasn't won in almost 7 years, which is scary. You know what I mean? It was over Thiago Tavares, who I don't think is even fighting anymore. Sam Sicilia, I think, is retired as well. Like Doo-Ho Choi, he hasn't fought in about 3 years' time. He hasn't won in almost 7 years, and it's a little bit worrying and alarming to pick him in a matchup like this. But I do think he can beat Cole Nelson. It's a pretty good opportunity for Cole Nelson to get another win in the UFC and maybe save his spot in the UFC. But I do think that Doo-Ho Choi is going to get it done. Cole Nelson's last win is against Paulo Reyes, so I'm not 100% sure, but off the top of my head, I think he was in the UFC because he was on the Ultimate Fighter. I could be wrong, but he lost to Matt Sales. Like, come on, man. Yeah, Doo-Ho Choi is the pick. I'm actually picking him by KO, although Joe Herbert didn't get a KO over Doo-Ho Choi. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna trust Doo-Ho Choi to get this one. I think I can pick him to win. Also, Cole Nelson dropping down to 145. I don't know if he normally fights at 145. I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot. Just ignore that comment. Marcin Tybura versus Blagoy Ivanov at heavyweight. I'm going with Marcin Tybura here. He's obviously coming off that huge win over Alexander Romanov, which he was probably meant to lose. But because it was at elevation, Romanov completely gassed out after the first round. In my opinion, Romanov probably should have got the 10-8 round and it should have been a draw. But at the end of the day, the guy that should have won the fight or deserved to win the fight more was probably Marcin Tybura. So you can't really be too mad at it. I was a little bit salty at the time because I was more like, damn, like that just blew a 16-0 prospect. You know what I mean? But yeah, I've got Marcin Tybura against Blagoy Ivanov. On the feet, I think Tybura has a good chance to win just with his striking alone, really. He's got a pretty long range advantage here of 5 inches. He's also much taller. Blagoy Ivanov is 5'11". To my surprise as well, Blagoy Ivanov is the younger fighter in this matchup, but I just don't really know what Blagoy Ivanov does at this point. Like, he just kind of held Marcos Rogério de Lima up against the cage. And before that, he hadn't really fought for a long time, and he was having close fights with Derrick Lewis and Augusto Sakai, but what's Ivanov going to do against Tybura? Hold him up against the cage? I don't think he's going to be able to pull that off. I think Tybura is going to be taking him down. And if the fight's on the feet as well, I think that he's going to be able to pick apart Luguy Ivanov from range. I know Marcin Tybura isn't that great of a striker, and his striking looked good against Alexander Romanov, but Romanov was super gassed. I think Tybura, he's going to be able to beat Luguy Ivanov on the feet, but also in the wrestling as well. I wouldn't be too surprised if Tybura starts landing takedowns on Ivanov, and he's got good cardio too. He was the one pushing it in the second and third round at elevation on that Edwards versus Usman card. So yeah, I've got Tybura in this one here by decision. Daeun Young versus Devin Clark is the co-main event. I've got Daeun Young in this matchup here. Daeun Young's a good fighter, man. I think like this is a pretty big step down in competition from his fight against Dustin Jacoby, where he was looking pretty good until he got KO'd. You know what I mean? Like Daeun Young was looking pretty solid against a former Glory kickboxer, and then he just got caught in the first and knocked out, which is unfortunate. Maybe an early stoppage, but I feel like the fight probably wouldn't have ended any differently. I think at the end of it, Jacoby would have just started ground and pounding him out. So maybe not an early stoppage, but I've got Daeun Young here. I think he's got really good boxing, underrated boxing. He's got that win over Kennedy Njoku, which is aging pretty well. The win over William Knight's pretty good. Devin Clark has knocked out William Knight himself. The draw with Sam Alvey is always a big red flag, but I feel like Devin Clark, he's just a really tough guy. Do I think he's going to be able to outstrike Daeun Young? Not really. Daeun Young's a really good striker, and he was having a lot of success in the striking against Dustin Jacoby until he got knocked out. So I can just see Daeun Young keeping the fight on the feet, and when it is on the feet, boxing up Devin Clark, and either winning by KO or decision. I was leaning KO, and it seems like the public is as well. So yeah, give me Daeun Young by KO in this matchup. Now, the main event is Derrick Lewis versus Serghei Spivak. Is it a 50-50 matchup? Yeah, pretty much. You know what I mean? Like Serghei Spivak on the feet, he is pretty hittable. He has been, I believe, he has been knocked out before by Tommy Aspinall. I think he got knocked out earlier on in his career as well. But the way that he shoots for takedowns isn't the same way that Curtis Blades shoots for takedowns, where he got KO'd by the uppercut by Derrick Lewis. He kind of likes to close the distance in the clinch and then get trips from there. And I think it's going to benefit Serghei Spivak. But also at the same time, though, Derrick Lewis is very strong in the clinch. And I feel like he's always got underrated strength in the clinch. Like him and Taito Ivasa were clinching up quite a bit before he ended up getting TKO'd against the cage. And then he fought Sergey Pavlovich and got KO'd in the first minute, I believe. But I guess it happens when it's Sergey Pavlovich at this point, right? But yeah, I've got Serghei Spivak in the matchup. Am I that confident? Not really, like at all. But I think as long as the fighter's on the feet, Derrick Lewis is going to be live for a KO. But I don't see Serghei Spivak trying to waste too much time with Derrick Lewis. I feel like Derrick Lewis, he's so live for a KO because he's got that power, but I just don't see Derrick Lewis running after Serghei Spivak in this matchup because he might get taken down. But I don't know, man. I just got Serghei Spivak. I've got him to win by finish in this one. I don't think the fight's going to go 5 rounds either way. If Derrick Lewis wins, it's definitely by knockout. If Serghei Spivak wins, it's just by finish in general. I don't see it going 5 rounds, as I just said. By TKO to ground and pound, which is what Serghei Spivak likes to look for. Submission is live too. Serghei Spivak has quite a few submissions in his career. I think he's got like 6, but not a lot of them were recent. I don't think any recent submissions, but he does have really good ground and pound. That seems to kind of be like what he looks for first is the ground and pounds, and then he can look for submissions after. But I'm just gonna go Serghei Spivak by finish because if he gets a submission over Derrick Lewis, it would be impressive. I think Lewis has only been submitted once, and it was by Daniel Cormier. I could see Spivak locking up some sort of rear naked choke, but I think that Derrick Lewis will probably, if he's going to lose, I think it would be like ground and pounds later on in the fight. I think originally I was Serghei Spivak second round, but I might go Serghei Spivak third or fourth round by ground and pound, and Derrick Lewis is just too tired to properly defend himself on the ground. So that's kind of just my pick. But let me know what you think of the video. Hopefully, once again, it wasn't too terrible. I don't expect it to be amazing, but you let me know what you think. I'll probably won't be uploading too much this week, as I see that I'm moving away. Probably won't be doing daily uploads this week, but should be a good card. I'm looking forward to it. I know a lot of people aren't because it's super late in the USA, but I guess just kind of welcome to everyone else's world to be perfectly blunt. But yeah, I can understand if a lot of USA fans aren't going to stay up to watch this card, just watch a replay on Sunday, to be honest. Yeah, it's a good card though. I'm looking forward to it. It actually times out really, really well for me in New Zealand. So I'm gonna be doing a live fight companion for this card if I am moved in fully. But if not, I will just be watching the card kind of like everyone else. But let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.